Good morning, good evening. I hope you're well wherever you sit and listen, stand and listen. This is an over 18s cannabis discussion on, different topics, but it's for, I respect the law and I would like only over 18 people to be involved. So I just want to add that. And I only like to talk about organic practices and sustainable ways for medicinal cannabis. Massive difference between medicinal and street cannabis. I don't discuss street cannabis whatsoever. There's a lot of bad things and unsafe practices. So I'll just wait a little bit I'll give it 2 minutes. So what's that? It's 1 minute now, so I'll just give it another 60 seconds. So in that time I can talk about, difference between not good. There's all sorts of pesticides, there's no care taken, there's bad practices, there's toxins that are introduced, there's heavy metals, there's microbes and fungus, viroids, that unwanted things that you've got. So not very good in street cannabis. So I only talk about medicinal and respect the law. Like, as you can see on the bottom left of the flyer there. Oh, that's pretty good, isn't it? You can see right there, as that's a parliamentarian from Western Australia, Brian. Oh gosh, I can't remember his last name. He works for the Legalised Cannabis Party over there, and he's one of the back and behind the whole movement for pushing this through to get the 3 states passed, and then there'll be more sort of stuff done afterwards. So good on him. Hey, here's Ned Kelly. Morning, Ned Kelly. Hope you're well, mate. Rightio. I can make a start. So it's going to be, because it's getting so blooming hot. Atmosphere. There's all sorts of problems going on, so it's going to be a big thing about that. And maybe a bit of photorespiration, some way to help your plant through the heat. Drought resistance, putting that in. A few cool things. Where's some news? All right, I'll present. Cannatrek have done the wrong thing. Not good, mate. I will tell you why. Share screen. Yep, this is sharing. Is my audio coming through? Let me go back here just to make sure. Hello. Audio working. Hello. Yep, I can see the little audio thing. Sorry. A few times I've done that. Gotten quite a lot way through and just been showing slides and not any discussion. Not very good. So yeah, Cannatrek, they've this is a news article and it says Cannatrek ends one trademark dispute, but Montu's Topaz bid rumbles on. So Cannatrek were trying to claim it Topaz as their name, and it says here in the first line, Cannatrek has abandoned plans to trademark the Topaz name now, as this Montu has put in a bid to register it. And then it goes down to say, the main thing of this whole, me showing it is this bit, is the Cannatrek chief, Tommy, Hooper, he suggested that the firm had been oblivious that wildflower was already in use when it was lodged. So saying that Cannatrek was oblivious that Topaz's name, mate, in Australia, all of the cultivars that are renamed after gems. So for Cannatrek to go to say that it was theirs to start with, it's really bad. It's stolen genetics. They didn't make the breed. They didn't do all the crosses and back crossing and trying to make that clean the genetics and all that sort of stuff. It's terrible. So I just wanted to bring that up because there's so much money in this industry. People are just too greedy. Why not be honest? It just shits me. So yeah, bad Cannatrek. So oh well. Anyway, next. this is what we're going to get through today. So there's a fair few, but it won't really go for long. It's adapting heat. Kennetrek, been through that one. Oh, look how cool this is. Meta, over in the States, the Facebook, company, Meta reformulates advertising policies for CBD market now. So soon, all of the ads and all those discussions and pro articles will be published, not just biased things that the media wants to portray. So that's really promising for the medical cannabis movement. Current legal, all right, I'll just go. Looks like the current legal status for cannabis possession for recreational use on the planet at the moment. I just saw this pop up and I thought, oh, that's pretty interesting, just the way that how things are progressing. Solar blue's good. So things are starting to get there. It's a little blue dot down here. But it's happening. So it's just really good. Progression. It's being recognized finally, everywhere. That one. Ghana's starting to license. Where's that article? Actually, there's a big article on that. So stop sharing that one. Ghana makes history. New laws open the doors to cannabis cultivation. Yay for Ghana. So that was a few days ago. So the Ghanaian Parliament have released it. So it's starting to be, so that might be a good, a new Thailand, possibly, for those who are interested. Effects of rare. Oh, okay. What's this one? Oh, that's some other stuff. So what's some other news things? Oh, yeah, Luxembourg legalizes the possession and personal cultivation from July, something in July. It's the end of July now, so it's legalized. So good on them. And here it is, Dr. Brian Walker. Sorry, Dr. Walker. His movement that he's really helping things in Australia, getting Western Australia, Victoria and New South Wales recognised for the legalisation soon. Very good work. This is a new cannabinoid prefix. See the new things that they want to put in front of these words in cannabis, just to help them, because there's new ways that they're being produced. So I just thought I'd show it. I'm not going to really go into it, but I think it's pretty cool because it's just the cannabis thing's finally getting recognised about the good ways and the bad ways, like the phytocannabinoids and just cannabinoids. So the synthetic to the natural form of it. And how cool is this? Look at that. That's just rad. Canistock. So it's coming up soon in October. And I just like all those little cartoons. Like they're all cool just individually. It looks rad, eh? So yeah, it's presented by Radio Woodstock Heritage Strains. So it's that would be cool in the Hudson Valley. So if you're over that way, you lucky folk, you'll be able to capitalise on this. That's cool, eh? Yes. Next, colourful. Isn't these buds nice? Do you know this is hemp flower? It's got no THC in it whatsoever. Isn't it nice? And see, it's poorly trimmed. So if that was trimmed nice with a better photo, wowee. So yeah, 0 THC or 0.3 underneath the legal amount, so it's actually classified as hemp. Here's some dry blue meringue diesel. What did this put in? Oh, because it's getting really hot, and this looks like it's really dried, over dried. It's just really, if you were to throw that on the ground, that would bounce back up, I think. That's what it looks like to me. Because it's got a bit of a dry theme today. There's got to be more in some news before I get into this sort of stuff. Reform cannabinoids. No, that's it. We're up to it. Okay, what were the links then? Oh yeah, okay. The effects of rare phytocannabinoids on the human endocannabinoid system. The effects of rare. So this is a study done with CBG and THCV and CBC, because they're pretty rare cannabinoids. So it's the effects of that on the body to show what happens. I'm going to skim right down to the conclusion, because it just shows, like, this is pretty cool how it's like this with the gene expressions. So if you've got the CBG, it activates the CB1 and CB2 receptors moderately, and then it produces the MAGL enzyme, and then that acts on the CB2 receptors, lowering them and increasing the TPRV1, and then that acts on the enzymes. So this is like its chain of signaling cascade. It's really cool. But I'll go down to the conclusion. So yeah, those pathways are really nice to know, because you can change different things in them which will alter the pathways a little smidgen. All right, go back to the conclusion. In conclusion, the results demonstrated that these cannabinoids modulate the genes and protein expressions in the endocannabinoid system elements differently, as well as functionally activity in their CB1s, in their receptors. It goes on to say that the CBG, CBC, THCV, and CBGA have a huge therapeutic benefit on their own. That's what this study sort of proved. So those people with, there's a variety out there with, I think Stellion had a 6% CBG, I'm pretty sure. So there's good promising things for the phytocannabinoids. There's the study again, if you want to look it up, in the International Journal of Molecular Science. This is another cool thing done on how cannabis is linked to an enhanced runner's high. So during exercise. So they did a study over in the University of Colorado, tested some runners to see what happened. And the results suggest that acute cannabis use may be associated with a more positive exercise experience among regular cannabis users. So it's, yeah, I really like that, because it's true. I like to have a smoke and then go and do my activities and things, and they always go pretty well. Now we're talking to the heat thing. Righto. So heat stuff. So back into this. Actually, I should see if there's any, before I get to that, just see if there's any things. Sure, bro. G'day, mate. How you going? Nice to see you. Hello, hello. Going to get into the heat stuff. So there's some cool heat things now for those 4 people that are watching. Thank you. And one of them's me. So there's 3 of you watching. So thank you. Wow. I won't be doing this forever. Come on, where's the heat thing? Just share screen, back into it. So this is definitely in mid to late summer, you can see, and it's taken over. I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, don't forget to prune. That was the motto for that one. And this is a really cool greenhouse. So it helps with in hot environments. And you can see how it's just opened really heavily at the bottom. Like that's 6 foot open. And it's permanently open. They don't fold down. And it's just a nice way to help with the heat too, because it gets the breezes going through. I like it. Because you can see there too how there's only marginal fans they've had to use. One at the end to suck the in and out when it's really hot for the top, the heat. But look at the side. They virtually don't have to use any type of airflow because it's designed well. But if you look up here for the other designs, this is fully indoors, so this has to be evac. They've got the vents on the side there, so it's done a lot differently, and they have to more airflow because it's more enclosed. And then, what's the point in showing that up? Oh, it's got a low heat volume, that's why, from that setup. Using it that way, the way that they've used their lights, and that this room would be climate controlled. And this is the full-on one with all the big HVAC system that's got going through it. So if you can afford it, and see, because they've done that, they've got fans right up the top, down below, on the sides, everywhere. as well as coming out of these HVAC, these vent units. So yeah, it's just a difference that you can mitigate your heat more so for big people, big institutions, but for little institutions, I'll go through some ways that you can mitigate the heat a bit better. This is yeah, this was a nice bud, I thought, and it was kind of relevant because it was unlocking the color potential. So if you can lower the temperatures, like that video that I made from that study that I did ages ago, you can see bring out your color potential, or your flavonoids in your medical cannabis plant. Oh yeah, and this was relevant to the effects of drought stress. So if you want to mitigate drought stress, they were saying that you can grab some of the soil, believe it or not, that was in desert regions, below plants in desert regions, and that has the microbiome to support drought resistance. And they were saying if you add that to your substrate, that might be a way of installing drought resistance. I kind of laughed, but then thought about it, it might be true. Yeah, that was just a way. There's better ways you can do it through abscisic acid or simulating of vinegar, because that's got an amount of abscisic acid. This is effective drought stress on microbiome of sandy and soil. So it found that the relative microbiome activity, so the bigger or high drought. Oh, so they tested it for drought stress, and by adding compost, they found it helped lots. As you can see in sandy soil, it went 2 weeks, it was that much smaller. After a month, after 2 months, it was smaller again. And the one that had compost put in it, it was still relatively large, indicating that it was only a few weeks. So that's a way this study helps mitigate drought stress, was by adding a bit of compost. And the reason by that is because it's got a lot of organic matter in it, and that absorbs things. What's that? Manure. I get manure and put it through a blender, and it goes into powder, and that holds a phenomenal amount of water. Is that really all? Right, nearly up to the end. Oh, well. Occupational allergies to cannabis. This is a cool chart that shows some problems that happens throughout the whole growth cycle, throughout the 8 stages. So it can happen right from the start, even when the seeds first germinate. You can have the contaminations in your things that you use to germinate your seeds, and then it can start building from there exponentially. Depends what's going on. Molds and bacteria after a few weeks. Endotoxins are released. Pesticides start happening in flowering stages from bad practicings on growing. Then on harvest, there's all sorts of talk about through harvest, through the ways that they happen. Yeah, that'll do. So the green show the really bad, the direct exposures, and the yellow shows the areas that promote it. See, I just liked it because it kind of helped. This is doing some tissue culture. So this is washing it. So you throw your cuttings into here in your first wash, then you've got to transfer it after that to a few other washes, but this is kind of goes with cleanliness of microbes. That's why I put it here. This is just a novel way to do some tissue culture. This is a nice dry rack. So this is perfectly, I can't fault this dry. I've spoken in the last few weeks about drying, and if I had this, it would have been great because it would have summed everything up. There's nothing I have to speak about after this. They got a lot of work to trim it up, to buck it down to these, to get it to each individual branch. But look, there's air gaps all the way through. You can see the back wall through all of it. It's just good. Oh yeah, there's another thing I'll be talking about next week, and that's freeze drying. It's because so much bacteria happens instantly, the plant starts to decontaminate and break down once it's cut. And so freeze drying is a cool suggestion. This is, they come out and they called this a mutation. What do you think? You think it's a mutation? I think I'll tell you what I think soon, But do you think it's a mutation? Because you look at this leaf, the plant's pretty big, yeah, admittedly, and it's starting to stretch and stuff. But if you look at the other leaves, look at here. Is it a mutation? All right, I think it's a re-veg. The reason why it's a re-veg is because it's showing more leaves, and it'll grow out this single leaf phase, which happens from re-veges. And the way that I can tell that, yeah, is because look up here. There's multiple leaves starting to come out. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So, yeah. No, they called it a mutation. It's not. As far as I'm concerned, it's a re-veg. Oh, that's today. Oh, that's the support thing. Thanks to those that do it. I appreciate it. Probably won't go on for much longer. Kenna Jobs. So how can you make money from entrepreneurships in cannabis for all you cool folk who smoke? And you can make money out of it. This is some cool artwork, and you saw that was from the, you don't want to use this anymore, because that's been lowest licensed, or what I call it, trademarked, or whatever it is. But this was some cool graphics. I just like it. How Humboldt gets, wow. That's cool. There's a few of these. Just cool. Tales from the Terps. It's awesome. Been dabbing. Where's what's his name? Oh, damn, I can't think of it now. Wax. How Humboldt gets it. That's cool. Oh, so this must be for Humboldt. That's pretty cool. I like the old school graffiti. I didn't mind that back in the day. That's what that sort of is. And this is a novel way. This is some resin drops, but it got me thinking about the towel and the sun. No one's made any sunscreen yet. So why don't you make some sunscreen? Just get some sunscreen, drop some drops in, and there you go. You've got some sunscreen that is hasn't been made yet. Some new ways for entrepreneurship. This is some patches. So I thought a dressmaker or a sewing person could do it. It just looks cool. There's a market for it now that legalization's starting to happen. This is a nice looking beverage. This is for GMF, Genetic Memory Farms. Yes, a nice Kenna beer. Look at that with a cool symbol on the front. It's very good for all you chefs and brewers out there. There's a few other nice things. And this was good because I thought for folk where it's legal in your area, you can start doing like a tour guides and showing people around and having, those types of related things. Because everyone wants a tour guide, and if you're experienced in your rad area, you've got the goodness, why not? I like this photo. This is sativa. I'm an indica person because sativa, I'm caffeine sensitive, so this makes me dance around the room and I got too much energy from it. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. I get anxious. So, but the photo's rad. So I had to show it. Oh, that's Thailand. Oh, the last one. Helping others is only way of life. And I thought, this is really nice. I haven't shown many positive things for a while. And how nice is that? The bird's just sitting there, doing its thing, and this one's just standing there just giving it a bit of sunshine because it might be sick or something. So it just creates good energy. So help out your friends today or your relatives. I think that's the end. Oh, Photorespiration. Let me know in chat if you want me to talk about Photorespiration. Please, and I will. True, bro. Hello, Radic L Conscious. How's it going? Not mutation, you guessed. Yes, that's what I reckon too. Wow, this is going to be a record short show, isn't it? Live in 56. How long has this been going for now? So yeah, mention, so if you want me to, you got any questions or anything to discuss or anything you want me to answer in related to medical cannabis, please answer. I can show some slides. If you want me to discuss photorespiration and how it happens and some ways to mitigate that, please let me know and I will. I've got some slides ready for that. It's pretty interesting. Actually, I'll just show you. I was going to end it, the show, but yeah, I'll just show you. For all those who are interested, you can stay and watch. Photorespiration. No, I think it was over here. Photorespiration. It's the uptake of oxygen and the release of carbon dioxide in the presence of light. So that's just what it means, is it's flipped around. So instead of doing photosynthesis, it's photorespiring. So it's using oxygen instead of carbon dioxide and that's a big waste of the energy production, and it doesn't produce any energy here without any adenine triphosphate production, which is the energy of each cell. And the conditions for photorespiration are, if your lights are too high, you'll see some people get bleached buds when they're really white, and that means that the intensity is too high. So the top there has happened with photorespiration, and those buds won't have been as big as they possibly could have. Also, temperature for medical cannabis is above about 29 C. Depends if I've installed heat resistance into some, so I can get mine up about to 33 Celsius, which is about 90 odd Fahrenheit. So you don't want to go above that Fahrenheit, or even 87 Fahrenheit really, unless you've got genetics that sort that out. And also in other conditions for photorespiration, if you've got a high oxygen content or a low CO2. So if you've got high oxygen in there, that means that the photosynthesis won't be able to happen properly. It'll be using oxygen instead of carbon dioxide, and it'll be wasting a few things. Just to summarize it, because it goes into detail a bit. Yeah, Viscose is the enzyme that can work with oxygen and carbon dioxide. It's really cool. Oh, yeah, it acts both as an oxygenase and a carboxylase. I had to do an assignment on Visco. It's fascinating. Not many enzymes work with two different processes, electron acceptors, and that does. Get into some other interesting things without boring. Competition, no. The Kelvin cycle, no, that's the dark cycle. Cannabis is a C3 plant, so when it's not absorbing its photosynthesis, it's in its light cycle, it'll be a night cycle, and it'll be using its storage and converting it with Revisco to make energy. When oxygen's too high, no. 3 organelles, oh gosh, this gets into it a bit. After the organelles, there might be something different. During photorespiration, rates of ammonia release, nitrogen assimilation, and H3 immediately assimilates into chlorophyll. Oh, okay, I'm trying to get useful information and not bore you. So photorespiration is entirely wasteful, considered it's a short circuit of a C3 cycle. And evolutionarily, it drains 50% of the fixed carbon on hot sunny days. So no energy or sugars are generated. Yeah, it is a useful purpose though, because it does save the plant. Because otherwise, once it goes too hot, it still has a chance to produce energy instead of just wilting and dying. So that's why it's there. That'll do. Photorespiration is not an evolutionary hangover. No, that's what it's because of what I just said. It's a necessary evil. It needs there to make it survive in hot times. Yes, and C4. No, not going to go into C4s because that's not what cannabis is. Sweet. To mitigate side effects. Yes, Radic. Hey Dave, how you going? G'day Aussie and chat. Have you heard anything about legalisation in Australia land yet? Well, Dr. Brian Walker, he's leading the party in Western Australia, and he's promoting it a lot in Parliament and doing a lot of talks on it. I'm getting around the question. Have you heard anything about it? Oh, I thought you were mentioning a date. and there's a bill being proposed for it, and the bill hasn't been sat on yet, so they've got to sit on it, and then it'll be passed. So hopefully by the end of the year in those 3 states will be sweet. And then once that's done, it'll just open up the door for the other states, because it'll virtually be in a grey area, Australia, because half Australia is legal and half isn't. So there'll be just a lot of, not decriminalisation, but it won't be, they're not looking at, apparently now they're looking into the MDMA and the mushrooms, psilocybin. That's the next thing they're really looking into now, because cannabis is pretty much legal and it doesn't really affect much, where those other harder drugs, they're the ones that really do affect people a lot, and they should be focused on. So that now that they've finally got the education up, the government are putting the policing funds into the right areas, mate. So it's good. So that's about all I know at this stage, sorry. I am friends with him though. I do get his posts. It would be nice for it to happen before grow season starts. Oh, grow season, yes. Well, when's that? That's in equinox is September 30. So that's after that. The hours go above 12:12, so it won't automatically flip the plants. So then the only thing you've got to watch out for is all the frost, because it's blooming cold. So yeah, if you've got a way of combating the frost, like a greenhouse, it could possibly happen a smidgen earlier, even. It would be nice, yes. Yeah, mate, it would be blooming nice. Oh, and that was another thing. The heat stress. Oh, here's another thing I could show you about heat stress as well. That I had prepared. Present. It was someone else's. The heat-induced stress may also delay flowering and maturation process in cannabis plants, leading to potential delays in harvest and disruptions. I've never found that. I've found from the heat stress in early, at the start of flowering, it induces stress to the plant, and that promotes all the herms. So if you've got cultivars that aren't, you'll see the ones that are very heterozygotic, meaning they're very their genetics aren't stable. So if they have any type of a stress, they'll swing and they'll tend to just stress out, and they'll start and try and reproduce. And that's the only thing I've really found from heat stress upon starting a flowering. The stress from high temperature can impact products like cannabinoids and terpenes. Yes, it can. It'll evaporate them and they're gone. I've had one instance where things got, the air conditioner failed in Canada, and I came back and the stench had gone and the terpene profile lost. You can't regain that terpene. I think it was a day, this was bad too. This was right in late flower, day 55 or something. And I came back and there was drips down the wall and everything. It was horrible. So that's true. It's really have to be careful about that. Heat can create favourable for pests and pathogens. Yes, it can. The heat also, anyway, I'll keep reading this. To mitigate the dangers of indoors, regulate, must have indoor temperature and humidity levels is just a must. Otherwise, it's a guess, because your cultivars might be able to maintain all these things. You don't know. And for me, I have substrate temperatures, I got air temperature, and I got canopy temperature. So canopy should be the hottest, then air, and then substrate should relatively be staying the same. Then I don't guess. Proper ventilation, cooling, shading, all that stuff. You'll find if it's really high temperature, it'll be low humidity. So by spraying in there with the spray bottle with water, or by putting in wet towels take ages to dry out and they have to evaporate somehow. So they put the water into it and that reduces the temperature if you've got a tent. And what was the other thing? Oh, those humidifiers, ultrasonic humidifiers are just awesome. I hook those up to humidistats so they can automatically keep it between the level I want. Cultivar, yeah, should closely monitor plant health aggregate levels. What else? By addressing these indoors. All right. Current heat, all across, soaring temperatures. Okay. Yeah, so that was interesting about that. That's it. That's really it. That's really it for today. Any questions? I'll tell you what, I've been doing this, my studies have started back up, and one of the classes is called Biomimicry, and actually, I haven't talked for long. Yeah, I'll share this. It's so interesting. I'll just find it first though. Biomimicry, where's that course study? And it's how we can imitate Mother Nature to learn things from. And, all right, I have to share the screen first. I'll probably talk about this more because it's fascinating. It turns you into a biomimic, it's called, and you can see why. Because understanding these processes, you can fix things quite easily. Start your biomimicry journey. I'm going to get to the point. What is it? Practices that learn from mimic strategies found in nature to solve human challenges. Why do ants not have traffic jams, but humans always do? Yeah. What's another cool one? This one, the plant one. So learning from nature. So what have they done? So neem. Leaves curl over, humidifies air, increases land precipitation. Oh. Leaves. Oh. Leaves capture solar. Leaves crouch. Trunk moves water up against. Oh yeah, that's a good one. So how does a trunk move water against gravity without motor-driven pumps? You know, from the cohesion tension theory of how water gets from the roots up out through and transpires. So that's its suction and pull. So it's just, that didn't come out too well, but you can see I haven't done much of it yet, so I'm not really experienced in it to talk well about it. But it's fascinating. I like it. Righto. Next week I haven't got much prepared. I've still got a little show, but I'm putting slides into it. I haven't themed it yet. I've got a few microbe classes starting up, so there might be some relevant stuff to share with some microbe things. And that's about all. So it's been a bit of a slow show, but thanks everybody for rocking up and listening, and thank you in chat for typing stuff and asking questions. I appreciate it all. And I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I appreciate it. Hope you have a good day or good night. Happy breeding, happy growing, and good health to you all. Bye-bye.